Hi, it's me, Delusion Dispeller, back to give you part three of the My Religion, aka also known as Why I Am What I Am. So, I kind of explained to you a little bit about the whole Catholic upbringing and the confirmation time that I didn't feel any different. Then I explained to you about getting saved, born again, whatever, in high school. And I didn't go into a lot of depth in that, and I'm not going to yet. That might come at a different time, or it might be on some other videos. Over time, my stepdad became very abusive. I ended up having to move in with my grandmother, and my grandmother was very Catholic. My grandfather was very Catholic. They would walk to Mass every day that it was open, every time there was a Mass. There were different Masses, and I mean church services basically, for prayer and for what they called Stations of the Cross, for the May crowning of Mary, where we would crown the statue of Mary with flowers and a crown. Lots of different things and reasons to go to Catholic Church Mass. And they went to all of them and took me with them. And since I was older, the Catholic Church had evolved a bit. So it went from the typical organ music, hymns, those kind of things, to more still the hymns, but instead of organ, now we had guitar and tambourines and maracas and things like that. They called it a folk mass because it was based on like folk music like Peter, Paul, and Mary and Simon and Garfunkel and other people. I think Simon and Garfunkel were kind of folksy, but Peter, Paul, and Mary definitely were. I love folk music even to this day. I still do. Anyhow, so the church evolved more into that sort of thing. And even in the Catholic Church I was growing up in, when my aunts would get together, or even separately, they would come to the service, and when everybody would say the Our Father prayer, they would hold hands and lift their hands like this. I always thought, oh, that's cool. They're different. They're pushing the envelope. They're rebels. I like rebels. Rebels make me happy because I'm a little bit of a rebel myself. Anyway, I bet I forgot to privatize the video and then upload it later. So if people come in, I guess they do. Anyhow, it was interesting to me that somebody was different. And I guess that's kind of where my whole, I guess, rebellious nature comes from, is seeing other people being different and being daring to be different. So time went on, and the church evolved, and I enjoyed the folk group a lot. I loved the guitar music and the tambourines and the harmonies, and everything appealed to me. I loved it. It was great. I determined, I want to be up there someday and doing that kind of thing. It's pretty cool. But I didn't last long with my grandmother because being born again meant I was different than the typical Catholic people, and I had renounced Catholicism at that point and didn't want anything to do with it. So I felt like a hypocrite. Anyway, I ended up living with my aunt for a while, my other aunt, and she had a daughter. She had tried to have children for years and couldn't get pregnant. She finally gets pregnant, has this daughter. The sun rises and sets on this daughter. She can do no wrong. I remember I was watching a TV evangelist on TV, and her daughter flipped the channel on me, and I got very angry, and I would get, mean and nasty to the little girl because I was teenager and probably hormonal and stuff. And we would get into fights, not the daughter so much, but the mother of the daughter. That's my daughter. She's younger than you. You need to be the bigger person and let her watch what she wants to watch. And I got really frustrated because it was my evangelism time. I was watching stuff about the Bible and the church, and that's what I wanted to be doing. And I was mad that my aunt was making me give up that time. And I went to a different church at that time and actually got baptized for the first time because I've been baptized like 4 different times, different places. And it just kind of, I guess, made me even more knit to what I believed. Anyway, I ended up going away to college soon after that. Got into a lifestyle that was nothing I would brag about now. Definitely not. Ended up pregnant with my first daughter. That would be Carol. You guys see her come into my room all the time. Um, and through that time, or in between that time, I guess, I was still trying to figure out what I believed and who I was, and did this born again thing really work? Because I couldn't convince anybody to join me in it. I thought the whole world would want my Jesus and want what I believed, but they didn't. People still wanted to be Baptists or Catholics or Jehovah Witnesses or whatever belief system they had. And I felt like everybody was going to burn in hell because they didn't come over to my way of thinking and believing. And I started questioning my own beliefs. Like, well, if everybody's not jumping on the bandwagon with me, maybe this is something I should look into. Maybe this isn't really the truth. Maybe I'm missing something here. And I didn't look into it. I just sort of said, well, okay, I guess I'll just, put it on the back burner a little bit for a while. And I think I kind of gave it a rest. I didn't really talk to people about it for a while. It just kind of became my private religion type thing. And then through a series of different events that God, I believe, orchestrated, I went to live with what I call foster parents. I was never legally adopted, so they wouldn't be true foster parents. But for lack of better terminology, they were either spiritual parents or foster parents. When I was living with them, we pretty much were Baptist. Hey, G, I forgot to put this in private and upload it, so this is going to be a live, I guess. We became Baptists. I learned more about conservative beliefs, and I'm pretty adaptable, so I sort of went with it, I guess. I sang the hymns. Now this time we didn't have an organ or the guitars. We had a piano. So that was a whole different ball game. Now I got to see or hear piano music being played and still hymns, but piano hymns. So that was different. I think we might have had an organ too, but I can't remember. I can't recall. Anyways, sometimes my foster parents and I would get up there and sing, with my little brother and sister, foster brother and foster sister. And we were a real tight knit family. We made lots of friends, lots of families were our friends. It's kind of a happy time in my life. Sadly, a lot of those people have passed away now. I don't understand why I'm still alive sometimes, honestly, because it just seems so wrong that some of these really good hearted people left the earth. But I mean, they're rewarded in heaven if you believe in a heaven. So I got to believe that way. Um, anyway, I'm trying to think. Okay, so it's hard to put everything in an order when you're doing this. That's the problem. That's why I got a bunch of notes here that I'm reading off of. All right. So my first taste of Christianity and the Bible was when I got saved or born again in high school. At that point, I think it was more of a fad to me. It was like, this is just something a few of the high schoolers are doing. I want to be part of it. There really wasn't peer pressure to join, but it was peer interest to join because it seemed like these people were happy. And I had a stepdad that was so mentally messed up and so punishing of me. I really was not a happy person, and I was looking for something to fulfill my happiness. But now I'm digressing and diverting backwards so I can tell you about, how that all came about. But you already know that from my other videos. So let's move on. Anyways, in the meantime, I meet my ex-husband, who became my husband. I meet this guy, and we click and we date for 6 months and we marry 3 months later against the pastor's advice. Okay. There was a lot of abuse towards Carol in the beginning. My ex-husband at the time, my husband, did not know about raising children and had a very distorted, abusive way about him of training children. And it was bad. It was really bad. Carol doesn't remember any of it. She's blocked it all out, which is probably for the better. She's been able to go on in her life with a positive attitude and outlook on life. But it was bad. But I stayed, and I had 3 more children by him over a span of 23 years. Probably for all the reasons that all women that I've talked to stay in abuse. They don't see a way out. They don't feel qualified enough to get a job and get out. They feel like their familiar territory, their house, their yard, and everything is, theirs, and they don't want to leave it. They don't want that discomfort of leaving it all behind, maybe leaving children behind, pets behind, belongings behind, whatever. There's a myriad of reasons why we stay in abuse. There is. And I know that now. I used to be a very big advocator of, well, just get out. And I will say that to people sometimes, but then if they explain to me, hey, it's not that easy, here's my circumstances, then I can have compassion and say, oh, okay, I see. So how can I help you figure out a way, And then I'll help them. Anyways, so I met my now ex-husband, was married to him for 23 years. In the meantime is when the whole thing that I want to talk to you about happened. That's going to be on the next video. I'm almost up to my time limit. I'm trying to keep these between 12 or 10 and 12 minutes. So you'll have to watch the next video to find out what happens next. Thanks.